Welcome, Zorrocats, as we venture into another episode of 200,000 times closer. We are actually going to investigate into the nails and the hair follicles and all of that good stuff today. These, in both instances, are made of alpha keratin. Alpha keratin is simply a protein, and a protein is simply amino acids. Amino acids are simply nitrogen dihydrogen and carbon, oxygen, oxygen, hydrogen. Now we'll display the picture here of the amino acid. You see, it's quite simple. These amino acids form chains that are defined by the genetic code. The genetic code puts amino acids in the chain as needed for what material it's trying to produce, metabolizing certain substances that is introduced to the body, breaking them down to their simplest form and repurposing them into these proteins as needed, whether it's for construction of your hair and your nails, or to protect the skin in certain calloused areas, or simply to heal a wound. In this case, to insulate the body, to protect the fingers, and to be used as tools in daily life. I shall remove my glasses here, for we do not need them. We are only going 1,000 times closer. And with that, I would like to start the camera here. I am interested in seeing the nail bed, which of course is made of the alpha keratin. The alpha keratin is just one of many keratins. Keratin is the protein that creates hooves, horns. Chitin, which is the exoskeleton of most insects and crustaceous species. I would like to put the lens here on my microscope. Forgive the scratches, but we are going to investigate into the tip of the finger. I'm zooming all the way out to start, and then we'll venture back. We have here the end of the nail recently cut. You can see the finger just underneath on this side here. The nail and finger separate slightly, and you get an impression of how these things work together as proteins, these polymers almost, because it's different parts but similar materials, and they're connected in many ways. All fibers interconnected to protect the body. Interesting stuff. I would like to just refocus, ignore of course the scratches on the lens, and focus simply on that area. I will go to a separate finger here just to get a better idea of what we're talking about. Okay, and it is an interconnected system. This area will collect a lot of dead skin, as well as food that perhaps you've picked from your own teeth, or perhaps a few fibers, as we can see here in this section. Now, you can say that there are layers of skin underneath as well. When I smash it together, you can see that layer of skin that has separated and died and is living under the nail, serving as kind of an insulator between the two. If we wiggle it and wobble it enough, it will come out, and at which point we will put it on our collection plate to be investigated into. So there we have it. And going back on the same finger now, I do not see it any longer. So we have removed that section. To the other hand, we have here our middle finger. You can see the nail, the finger, and the interworkings of the two. Ah, there we are. Look at the index finger here. We have dead skin that has broken off and is connected to the nail. That's what I mean by a polymer. It's multiple pieces that are connected, parts. So we'll break that off as well and put it to the collection. We will be looking at Leia's nails as well in comparison to a human nail. The alpha keratin, of course, is going to be present in both materials. So you can see under this nail there's quite a bit we have here dead skin, fibers, many things. And if the scratched lens was better to us, we would see them more clearly. I want to go into the thumb. The thumb is a gritty area. Okay, so rounding out to the side of the thumb here, you see some fibers there. We're going to get in nice and close. Nice and close on these fibers. Now we're at 1,000 times magnification. And what we have here are just random fibers. I'm not sure if they're organic or synthetic. That is an organic fiber there. And we'll break this off and look at it under the microscope as well. We'll go back into the area here. Zooming out, of course, first and foremost. And there we have removed that section. The alpha keratin on top is a much different protein that makes up the skin. The skin, I can only speak from a healing standpoint based on, I was going to show you a scab as well. Now a scab is different than alpha keratin, the protein that makes up your hair and nails, because the scab is blood as well as dried skin as well as fibroblasts that have dried and will eventually separate. And with that being said, I do have an active scab. I am going into the area here of the scab to show you what exactly the difference would be. So when you are wounded, the area, it swells up and inflames, and that it aids in the debriding of it. It pushes out any foreign material. The blood clots, it hardens. There are what are called fibroblasts that are created and sent to the area to reconnect as much as possible the tissues and protect the vascular system, which is then being created in the absence of the section. So the inflammation being the most important part primarily because it fills in any void that was created in the wound, and the fibroblasts are retextualizing, reattaching, reconstructing the blood, and the skin that dries becomes the scab, and that is a much different process. So I just wanted to show you that, and I have a scab from the other. I went to the scab store and I found a separate scab. We will leave this alone. I do not believe in picking, but if you would like, we will go 1,000 times closer now. 100, no, it's not 200,000 times closer just yet, but this is 1,000 times magnified. And there you have fibers debriding, you have what was clotted blood and some dead skin and perhaps fibroblasts, proteins if you would, and that will be its own entity. We are going to be switching to the microscope. So we have here our specimen in the microscope. Now this here is a plate of nails from the nail store. These are cuttings, clippings of old nail fibers. These have been pushed out all the way to the end and have been cut off. Now these nails, because they're tools in everyday trade, they are protecting items. They protect the outside, and they're used every day for things on the inside. So what I see here, first and foremost, is a collection of hair that has accumulated underneath the nail bed, and that is just one section. So if I may, I'll zoom through in and out of this here. It's quite fascinating, truly. But I want to move around here as well. There are many different things to see, and I don't want to just focus in on one area too much. So here we have another nail, and what we have on that nail seems to be dirt, just particles in general. Interesting, very interesting. This is another one here. The most important thing to keep in mind would be that when you magnify, you have much less light available because your focus center, it narrows. So this is merely 80 times magnification here. But most importantly, I can see tiny cracks. I can see what's making up the nail. I'm looking past all of the material, and I can see this interwoven connectivity, at least in the amount of light that is passed through the alpha keratin in the nail. It looks almost metallic with its high shine, which is very interesting. You have to almost let your eyes go and accept what you're seeing. You can focus in and out to different depths here, and the rolling cracks, that movement through, it's almost like looking at the moon at this level. Ignoring, of course, the hair follicle there, I'm looking through the nail. Oh, this is a good bit of dead skin here. I just want to see if we can bring it into the forefront. Now there's a nail with hair through it. I can see through the hair follicle there, through that fiber. It's quite fascinating. You imagine how many substances you would pick up in the course of the lifespan of this nail. This one, the amount of hair that is accumulated, scratching your head, scratching your shoulders, your back, everywhere on your body has hair on the surface. But I'm mostly taken aback at the high metallic shine of this protein, that smooth surface. But at this level, that smooth surface becomes textured, almost unrecognizable. I'm looking for synthetic materials as well. I saw a bit of red fiber there. Okay. Now that is something, isn't it? Now that could be any number of things, whether it is food or dirt, or I see blue in there as well. So what I would like to do is go in another 10 times. Okay. Adjusting our center. And there's a bit of stain in the nail itself. I can see some fibers of hair. The blue there is quite interesting. The blue fiber. And then lastly, we'll go in again just on this area another 40 times. Now this is where the light becomes an issue. We lost our section there. Okay, so there's something here. Keeping in mind, of course, that the light becomes less available. Okay. Just moving over an amount and seeing if anything else jumps to us. Okay. So what I've learned is that nails at that level of magnification are not easy to locate. I will now take this opportunity and we'll investigate into Leia's nails. So we have our vial here with Leia's nails in it. Keeping in mind here, the keratin, ooh, we have a hair follicle. It disappeared on us, the elusive hair follicle. So look at that nail. It's so shiny, something to behold for sure. Very metallic and clear, crystal clear.
I don't like the jazz organ on it, but
cats are using their claws for much different uses than humans. And you can see here how pristine this is. And just based on the texture, I would say it may be a bit softer because of the amount of light passing through larger sections. Unless, of course, I'm mistaken and it is harder, but you would think that it would just have to shed easier, in which case there's a process there that I'm missing. The process is either one that it hardens. I can feel the hardness here. Let's get to it. I have my tool here. Keeping the thickness in mind, I'm picking one that's as similar as possible here. Now, the cat's nail is much harder. For a smaller area, it definitely had a more difficult time going through here. I want to focus in on this little fellow. A hair follicle as well. Wow, you can actually see the closeness in fibers there. A cat's nail is much more interesting than a human nail, for sure. We'll go in another 10 times. Now we're just zooming through to see what pops out at us. Wow. That's really something to behold. Another 40 times here. There it is. It's truly something. If it's harder and it's clearer, that means tighter fiber structure. You get an idea of how small our world can really be, and how little we know about everything. And now we can see truly how our light being restricted plays a part in what we can actually take in. This is, for us, 2,000 times magnified. And when you start focusing through it, it comes and goes very quickly. It's such a minute part of everything. And as I promised, we will go to the scab. Okay, I do want to see the outside edge here. Okay, so this being the rejected piece, the dead skin, the blood, as I said most of the time, I think things that are metabolized we would describe as liquid. Contact with the air evaporates moisture and then they harden. So we can see the dry skin, the blood, fibers that were rejected from the wound. There we have more blood, fibroblasts, which recreate the area, the landscape. That is a solid piece there. That just simply means that it's deeper and light is not passing through as easily. Heavy concentration there up top of the blood, but it is the rest that I'm really interested in. What is collagen? They describe it as like a molecule of youth and softness and suppleness, the collagen of your skin, the bounce, the play. I feel like Leia is getting a lot of enjoyment out of this. She must have known that we were. I am curious to see the inside. How about you? See some of the fibers that were created. It almost looks like a lava rock. Now lastly, I would like to find a hair follicle. Okay, so I have here a few hairs. Alright, and there we have it. Much more transparent here. Now what I see first and foremost is in removing the hair there's an amount of sebum, which is of course from the sebaceous gland. You can see this is where the hair comes through the skin. Looks like a wand from Harry Potter, really, truly. And there's the bulb, of course, where the hair is created. And there is where I would like to get closer. It's fully opaque, nothing new. I don't believe we're going to find anything out in this way. We'll see what that did there. There's sebum there. Sebum. sebum lines from where I pressed it into the plate casings. Interesting. It's an amount of oily substance that's created to protect the hair here, remaining on the plate. This section is where the hair follicle leaves the skin. We have the sebaceous secretion on the outside of the hair, of course, which protects the hair follicle, protects the bulb where the creation begins.
Beautiful.
If you thought this video was magnificent, then be sure to click the like button. You can always share. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the icon in the credits. And as always, my best to you.